Everyone thinks they understand how strong Sung Jinwoo really is, but there's the problem. Most people only compare him in 1v1 fights. They never ask the real question. What happens if Sung Jinwoo keeps climbing no limit? Not just one opponent, not just one universe, but the entire anime multiverse, one level at a time. Because strength in anime isn't linear. At first, it's about skill, then power, then abilities, and eventually you are not even fighting people anymore. You're fighting concepts, rules, reality itself. So today we're putting Jinwoo through 5 levels of escalation. Each level gets exponentially harder. Each opponent breaks a different rule of combat, and the real question is simple. Where does he stop? Or worse, does he even stop at all? Level 1. Elite humans and peak fighters. Strong, but still bound by limits. Before we throw Jinwoo into a god level chaos, we need to establish one thing. How does he perform against the absolute peak of human level fighters? We are talking about monsters like Levi Ackerman and Toji Fushiguro. These aren't normal humans. Levi moves so fast he looks invisible to titans. Toji, a man with zero cursed energy, who still hunted sorcerers like prey. In their worlds, they are definition of perfection. But here's where things start to break. Jinwoo isn't just strong, he's a system-based hunter who scales infinitely. By the time he reaches his peak, his speed isn't just fast, it's overwhelming. His strength isn't just powerful, it's crushing. And most importantly, he doesn't fight alone. The moment the battle starts, shadows flood the battlefield. Numbers, pressure, Levi's precision, control, useless against an army. Toji's instinct, overloaded from every direction. And even if somehow they push through, Jinwoo can just reset the fight, because unlike them, he can keep growing mid-battle. So at this level, not even a question of who wins. It's a question of how fast it ends. Level 2. High tier superhumans. Now, power starts to mean something. Level 1 was dominance. Level 2 is resistance. This is where Jinwoo stopped fighting humans and start facing legends of their own worlds. We are talking about monsters like Naruto Uzumaki and Ichigo Kurosaki. These aren't just strong fighters. They fought wars, defeated gods, survived things that should have killed them 100 times over. Naruto has absurd stamina, regeneration, and raw destructive power. Ichigo, a hybrid anomaly with speed and spiritual pressure that can crush entire battlefields. So now the question changes. It's no longer can Jinwoo win easily, now it becomes can Jinwoo keep up. At the start of this level, it actually looks close. Naruto's shadow clones instantly counter Jinwoo's army. Ichigo's speed starts matching his movements. For the first time, Jinwoo isn't overwhelming the battlefield, he's matching it. And this is important because this is where most people underestimate him. Jinwoo doesn't rely on one thing, his stacked advantages. Raw stats, tactical awareness, shadow extraction, and most importantly, scaling during combat. The longer the fight goes, the worse it gets for his opponent. Every fallen enemy becomes his soldier. Every second gives him more control. So while Naruto and Ichigo can match him at the beginning, they slowly start to lose control of the fight. More shadows, more pressure, more angles to defend, until eventually they're not fighting Jinwoo anymore. They're fighting his entire system, and that's the shift. At this level, Jinwoo doesn't instantly dominate, but he doesn't fall behind either. He adapts, he absorbs, he overwhelms slowly. So the real answer here, Naruto and Ichigo can push him, they can even make it look close, but in a prolonged fight, Jinwoo still walks forward. But here's where things get dangerous, because up until now, everything we have seen still follows basic logic, speed, strength, numbers. That's about to disappear completely. Level 3. Hacks and ability based monsters. Power alone is no longer enough. This is where most characters fail, not because they're weak, but they're playing the wrong game. At this level, strength doesn't win fights, abilities do, and no two characters represent this battle better than Satoru Gojo and Aizen. Let's start with Gojo. On paper, Jinwoo should dominate. He's faster, stronger, he's an entire army behind him, but none of that matters because of one ability, Infinity. No matter how fast Jinwoo moves, no matter how strong his attack is, it will never reach Gojo. Not slowed down, not reduced, stopped completely. So now ask yourself, what does Jinwoo actually do here? He can't overwhelm, he can't outspeed, he can't brute force his way through. For the first time in this entire video, he's stuck. But here's where it gets interesting. Jinwoo isn't just a fighter, he's a system. He adapts, he observes, and more importantly, he doesn't rush. Instead of forcing the fight, he shifts the battlefield, pressure, positioning, time, because Gojo has one weakness. He's still human. He gets tired, he has limits, and Jinwoo doesn't. So the fight doesn't end in seconds, it drags. And the longer it drags, the more dangerous Jinwoo becomes. Not because he breaks Infinity directly, but because he starts winning everything around it. Now switch to Aizen. This is worse, much worse, because unlike Gojo, Aizen doesn't block attacks. He controls perception itself. With his hypnosis, everything Jinwoo sees, everything he senses can be fake. Now think about that for a second. Jinwoo's entire advantage is awareness, control, strategic scaling. Aizen attacks all three. So now the battlefield becomes chaos. Jinwoo commands shadows but doesn't know if they're real. He attacks but doesn't know if he's hitting the target. He adapts but might be adapting to an illusion. This is the first level where Jinwoo can actually lose, not because he's weaker, but the rules have changed. And this is where the fight becomes psychological, because Jinwoo has one path forward: overwhelm the system itself, not the illusion, not the perception. If he can land even one clean moment on real opening, he can turn the entire fight, because once Aizen falls, he doesn't just lose, he becomes part of his army. And that's the terrifying part. At this level, Jinwoo is no longer just fighting enemies, he's potentially collecting them. But here's the real problem. If you thought this level was broken, you haven't seen anything yet. Because level 4, we're not dealing with abilities anymore. We're dealing with characters who can rewrite reality itself. Now we go past the point where most comparison even makes sense. Up until now, abilities could still be worked around, outplayed, endued, outsmarted. From here on, the rules themselves are unstable. Level 4, reality warpers and conceptual beings. You're not fighting opponents anymore, you're fighting existence. At this level, strength doesn't matter. Speed doesn't matter. Even abilities start to feel limited, because now we are stepping into characters like Rimuru Tempest and Anos Voldigod. Let's start with Rimuru. Rimuru isn't just powerful, he's a system above systems. He can analyze abilities instantly, nullify attacks, absorb powers, and evolve in real time. Sound familiar? That's because for the first time in this video, Jinwoo is facing someone who plays his own game, but better. Think about it. Jinwoo grows stronger during battle. Rimuru does the same. Jinwoo builds an army. Rimuru can absorb and replicate entire abilities. Jinwoo adapts, Rimuru perfects. So what happens when these two collide? It doesn't look like a normal fight. There's no clear exchange of blows. Instead, it becomes a battle of information and control. Every move Jinwoo makes, Rimuru understands. Every ability he uses, Rimuru processes. And the longer the fight goes, the more the gaps start to show. Because Jinwoo's strength is scaling, but Rimuru's strength is optimization, and optimization eventually wins. Now, step into something even more dangerous. Anos Voldigod. Anos doesn't just break rules, he ignores them. Death reversible, destruction meaningless, time flexible. This is a character who can destroy you and then erase the fact that you were ever destroyed. So, now ask yourself, what does Jinwoo actually do here? His army gone in an instant, his regeneration overwritten, his scaling irrelevant. Because Anos doesn't fight power with power, he fights it with authority. And here's the real problem, Even if Jinwoo somehow wins a moment, Anos can just undo it. This is the first level where Jinwoo's entire system starts to collapse, not because it's weak, but because it was never designed for this. And yet, there's still one thing that makes this interesting. Jinwoo's identity. He's not just a fighter, he's a monarch, a being tied to death. Against Rimuru, it becomes a losing war over time. Against Anos, it's almost absolute. This is where Jinwoo stops climbing and starts reaching a wall. But even this isn't the end, because there's still one final level left, and this one doesn't care about logic, doesn't care about scaling, doesn't even care about reality. Level 5. The characters just made for winning, beyond scaling, beyond systems, beyond outcomes. At this point, we are no longer asking who is stronger. That question doesn't even make sense anymore, because characters at this level don't just win fights, they define what a fight even is. And at the center of the final stage, we have one name, Saitama. Saitama isn't broken in the traditional way. He doesn't rely on abilities, hacks, systems, or evolution. He exists as something much stranger, a character with no ceiling. Every opponent we have seen so far had rules, even the strongest ones. Rimuru adapts, Anos overrides, Aizen manipulates, they all operate within a framework. Saitama doesn't. So what happens when Jinwoo faces that? At first glance, it looks familiar. Jinwoo summons his army, the battlefield fills with shadows, pressure builds, and for a moment it feels like we have seen this before. But then something changes. No matter how much force Jinwoo applies, no matter how much he scales, Saitama doesn't respond, not because he can't, but because he doesn't need to. This isn't a battle of adaptation anymore. It's a clash between a system that grows infinitely versus a character who already exists beyond the need to grow. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Jinwoo's entire advantage comes from progression, leveling up, adapting over time, and becoming unstoppable. But Saitama, he starts at the end. So there's no longer fight here, no drawn out war, no gradual takeover, just one question. Can Jinwoo reach a level that Saitama hasn't already surpassed effortlessly? And that's where the debate splits, because logically Jinwoo should be able to keep climbing, but narratively Saitama was never meant to be climbed. So what's the final answer? Jinwoo dominates early levels, he adapts through mid-tiers, he struggles against hacks, he hits a wall against reality warpers, and at the very top, he runs into something completely different. Not stronger, not faster, just unreachable. So be honest, where do you think Jinwoo actually stops? Level 3, level 4, or does he somehow find a way past everything? Because the scariest possibility isn't that he loses, it's that he never stops.